What I've got here today is an old school Homelite Super EZ automatic chainsaw. Bought this at a garage sale. Looks to be all original. I don't think anybody's ever messed with anything. The only thing that looks like it's ever been changed is maybe that bolt compared to that nut compared to that one. And that's no problem. It's all original. And it wouldn't start, so I decided, hey, I'm going to go open this up and put a power drill on there with the socket. And I could kind of get the power drill past. They got these little pawls inside there once you pull this off that can connect on that side. I've never worked on this saw before. I've never seen a Homelite of this age, I assume mid-70s, and didn't know how to take it apart. So I just take apart the screws that I saw, which were those, and all of a sudden, boing, everything came out. The spring came flying out, which I've rewound since then. And luckily, I found this piece, which is a half moon. That is absolutely necessary. I later took this off because I have to get the spring back in there. And there's a plastic thing here. While I'm at it, while I got this all apart, I'm going to put a new string on it just because this one's already, half gone. So no sense, trying to, it's just going to snap off the second I get it all put back together and everything. So I have a pretty good idea of how to put it back together. It's not like any I've seen before. I'll take you along for the ride. So one of the main things that was frustrating me is this spring, because there's a rivet here. You can see that rivet. That had turned. There's a piece underneath it. That had turned and making me think I had to go on the outside of this thing. And I'm like, how is that ever going to happen? It goes on the inside. This thing is facing up, and the spring has to be wound on the inside of that original ring that's made by that rivet. So yeah, everything just went flying when I took the bolts off. I didn't know what I was doing. I figured, how would that happen? Why would that happen? Wasn't even expecting it, but like I say, luckily I wasn't in the forest, so I found this. I was on my trailer at the time, found this laying there, wondering where this all goes, and all that is, it goes there, and then the end of the spring catches on it, you wind it up. So I think it's supposed to have, by looking at this parts manual, I found the parts manual online, I think it's supposed to have two of these, one for that side of the spring, and then another one. Mine just had one, and I'm going to put it on the outside to hold the spring in. It's not going anywhere there. So let's get to it. First thing I'm going to do is put the new string on, because it looks like that's what has to happen next, and then everything else goes on top of that. I'm just doing it because I have the string, and I could see there's several areas where it's already chafed and stuff, so there's just no reason on an old saw. You're going to be pulling it more than a few times trying to get it started, I'm sure. So this one, they've got, it feeds in the hole and just comes up the center there. Get a little pair of pliers, pull that up through. Yeah, and you just put like a couple knots there just to prevent it from pulling through. So I've got a piece about the same size. Cut the knot off there. Pull that through. This one. Pull that through. And that one knots from the inside here. Let me get a better shot for you. Hold on while I'm trying to pull it. Just put a knot, and then it goes inside that piece. It'll be in there. Cut that off. I'm going to make up a piece. What I like to do You give these a nice clean cut at the end. You do it how you want. This is like a nylon, and there's cords inside. If you melt that just a little bit, it gets all those frayed ends to kind of coagulate. And then if you're quick and don't mind getting fingers burned a little bit, now that it's got a hard end on it and you can poke it through good without it fraying out on you. So do that. I'm not going to do it on the other end right now because I'm going to cut it to length. We're going to match it up to the other one. I brought a little extra, maybe a little too much, but we know there was a knot on each end. So I'm going to cut it probably about there. We'll see if that's going to work for us. You don't want it too long because you only have a certain amount of rep that's available to fit on that reel. And you don't want to go too short because then you just end up hurting your arm when it stops dead and potentially rip the cord right out of there. And that's stupid hot, so don't, if you're not like me, wear gloves. All right. Put this down through this way. Make a knot. I'm sure some fishermen would know a better knot than I, or a Boy Scout, or a whatever. One little loop is plenty. It's really not going to go anywhere. Tuck it back in. Feed the other end down through. I'm sure most of you already have an idea about how all this goes. And then it's nice and flush. Good looking handle. Here's where the poking of that hard end compared to a bunch of frayed out things comes in handy. And then we will go down through. Again, coming in handy. You might have to, this could be a little tricky, trying to get that to come sideways. Actually, there's some crud in mine. I'm going to clean that out. I'll bring you back. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go in the side, and then I'm going to poke a screwdriver in there to help bring it up into the center. Let's see if that'll work. The newer ones are completely different than this. But this is old school, so it's just kind of learning what the best technique is for that era. Just trying to make that smooth and durable. Somebody online's probably got a really cool video on how to feed this through, but maybe mine isn't cleaned out enough. I've got to get a screwdriver, and I'm going to clean that hole from this way too. This screwdriver is more suitable for pushing it in there, so let me get it a little bit sideways in there maybe. I think I got it started. Yeah, now I can kind of see it in there a little bit. And I'm going to try to just grab it and push. And I think I see it coming through a little bit, or at least a string or two. Yeah, the string is not cooperating. The sheath is, I got the inside part only. Dang. It didn't melt together properly at the end, like I like it to. So let's start over. See, that's all ratty. You'll never get that through. Even the way I had it, you couldn't get it through. Let's make sure we melt that end real good. do a little better this time. Make a little taper on it if we can while it's cooling. That's not the good screwdriver. This was the one I wanted to use. Just kind of stuffing it in the hole from the side. Maybe not. Patience, my friends. I think we got something started. Nope, not yet. Almost. Push it, pull it, whatever it takes. There, I think we got something we can get a hold of. Hey, winner. This one I'm going to put 2 knots on. No, they just had a single knot, I guess. Okay. And I'm going to cut that tail off a little bit. We don't want that sticking out and getting into trouble with anything. Probably don't care about the routed end at this point, but just so it doesn't pull through easily. Good. And I'm just going to wind this up. And you'll know if you have too much, because it'll start coming, you know, you'll feel that reel. That amount there is just right. We're not pushing our luck. Now these have to go with those pawls, so you'll have to spin it a little left, a little right, and see where it's going to drop. There it dropped. So now we're in good shape. So I'm going to get you in close here. So that pawl, I'm calling that a pawl. It's P-A-W-L. That's how it's going to catch that spring piece. We can see it once it goes in there. So I'm going to try to get the spring in next. And it's going to be a little trial and error for me. It's got a notch. Trying to get that so you can see it. Notch. And then the spring is going to go over this way. Like that. So we're going to get that in. We're going to get that, try to get all this stuff lined up, and then I've got to cut those zip ties out of the way because they're in the way right now to really get this thing to lay where it needs to sit. And again, a guy that's done this 50 times probably has a wonderful way of doing this. Or some factory technician from back in the day that used to assemble these, but I am literally doing it by the seat of the pants, and that's fine. So I've got that thing in the groove facing out. Now I want to... Is there something in that? Not really. Something tells me the technology was lacking when they knew how to make a recoil, and they knew how to make it last, but not easily serviceable. And not with the minimum of parts like you would do today. Okay. My thing is, the square thing sticking out. That goes into there. And I think we're getting closer to being done. So I've got to get that piece to line up wherever it lines up. There it goes, it lined up. Now, it's all about making that rewind pop back. You don't want it hanging out here. You want that thing with enough force. So let's pre-wind it a little bit. I don't know how many winds it takes to get that spring wound up, but we want enough where it goes all the way back in and then has some tension. And I just slipped out. Maybe I wind it first. Wind that part first. There's no tension yet. Oh, and I just noticed, yeah, this spring came out again. I think this spring is deformed and it's not fitting in there right. This clip, I mean. This clip. Why wouldn't that just drop right down in there where it belongs? Let's do this 50 times. You're going to get good at this, says me. Try flipping it over. Maybe it'll drop in the groove easier. I don't know. It's just not quite dropping all the way. I saw another guy that was adamant that that was to be trapped in there, and that was what holds it. What if you didn't? Then you'd be trapping just the spring. Does hold better though. Maybe we'll just do that. Like the things that's gonna come flying out, how's that gonna happen? Let's try to get that lined up. Yeah, every time I do it, it comes apart again. This is a little trial and error for me, folks. I have not done this chainsaw and don't prefer to do one anytime soon. Sorry, folks, if you're a Homelite fanboy, but there's better stuff out there that's, well, okay, if it's newer. That has a lot less pieces, that seems like it would go together much easier. What I'm seeing now is that spring is not dropping into the groove. There it goes. There. I think we dropped into the square thing now. But that spring is holding me out. How would you get that in farther? Little hackery going on here. There, we're flush now. Now let me wind this like that much. No, that's not recoiling anything. Let's go to it, sucks it in. And then like, what was that, 2 turns? That is not working, folks. I'm gonna bring you back when I figure this out. I'm sure it perfectly makes sense when you get it. Okay, figured out what I did wrong. That spring can go in this way, or it can go in this way. I had it hooked on the wrong way. If you flip it and hook it the other way, as you turn this, it winds up the spring and creates tension. You get it to drop, and then you give it, I don't know, did I give it a turn and a half, 2 turns? I don't know, but you know, of course you want your label sitting upright, and you want that coming back, but not so much that it's, you know, got crazy tension that's going to wear you out when you're turning it. So we'll just put these lock screws back in and be done with this thing, as far as the starter goes anyway. Let's see what that looks like. Then we'll give it a couple test pulls and make sure everything is locked in how it should be. But yeah, when I first put that spring on, that's when I went wrong. And once I got it, I didn't want to refilm it. So folks, if you just saw the first half of the video and clocked out, you lost, because it was incorrect. That's how she's supposed to go. And I hereby declare that recoil and string Wildwood certified. Thanks for watching.